Final Four is here. It's set. Duke is not. It's with a heavy heart again that I say I'm sorry to report I was wrong. It is not Duke's year. It doesn't tear me up as much as I thought it might.
I was going to be honest right now. You sound like you're like a little bit more chipper than I expected. I expected you to come on this podcast, be very upset.
Yeah.
Possibly refuse
strange.
to do the podcast because of what happened today, which is Duke is officially out of the NCAA tournament. Everyone calm down, take a deep breath, relax. We're okay. We're okay. We're safe.
I said all year it was Duke's year. It just felt like Duke's year. Even I'm still going to maybe stand by it being Duke's year. I'm going to go with your theory that Sister Jean prayed for the Devils to go away. I like that. I like how you brought that up with Sister Jean on the last pod. The Duke just felt too good. How could they possibly not? And they figured it out with the zone defense, Tate, and that was the story. And that's what I bought into it. I bid on it, hook, line, and sinker. Also, just like the landscape of college basketball this year, we had a lot of okay teams, not a ton of great teams, like really no great team. Villanova's looked great. I think Virginia was pretty great at stretches. They obviously weren't so great in the NCAA tournament, I would argue.
We won't bring that up anymore. That was tough.
So it felt like a Duke year. Like you think back on like 2010, you like bringing that up, where it was just kind of like, I mean, the best team in the country was like a Kentucky team that year was led by a bunch of freshmen, and there's a lot of unknowns in that going into that tournament. And Duke just kind of survived, and that's how they won it. And I felt like that was what was going to happen this year. That's not what happened. And
the interesting thing about 2010, we brought this up, it feels like a hodgepodge of 2010 and 2011 if you look at the finals this year and how everything has played out. Michigan, actually, as weird as it is, has sort of fallen into what Duke did in 2010, which is we're the hot team. We did have a pretty good regular season, but the tournament hits, we get hot, we start making shots, we're on a little bit of a run. Things sort of fall in our favor in our bracket. You know, we end up being the top seed coming out, facing Florida State and 9 seed to go to the Final Four. Like, things sort of shaked out well for Michigan. And for Duke, it didn't, and that's sort of where we get to this point. That hurts.
So sad.
To take on Kansas, a team that wins their 14th straight Big 12 title. Bill Self, you went into this game. You were ready to write the piece to say Bill Self, maybe not so Elite Eight. If he were to lose his 8th game
live
in the
look
Elite
at Bill
Eight,
Self,
live look, do the whole thing.
Through his shirt.
And he avoided all that, and that's because he actually outcoached Coach K today.
This was the best game I've ever seen Bill Self coach. This was the best season of Bill Self's coaching career. I think Bill Self has officially shut everybody up about. I've never thought Bill Self was a bad coach. I don't mean to. I'm going to backtrack on a lot of the things I've said, but I've never once got on Bill Self. The part I was bringing up about the meme, I just I can't resist making memes. Like, I'm going to make jokes about him losing the Elite Eight.
Yes,
but I've never felt like I've always been on the side of making the Elite Eights is impressive. The fact that you've made 10 Elite Eights is insane.
You're capitalizing on the meme.
Yeah,
that's all you're doing.
So this was an incredible job by Bill Self this season. This is one of the worst Kansas teams he's ever had. I stand by that. I watched I'll backtrack, and I already backtracked on the Kansas thoughts I had. We watched them play in the Champions Classic. I always bring that up because Kansas played Kentucky. A lot of people come out of that game saying, wow, that was a great game. Both these teams look good.
Because it was close.
Yeah, because it was close. And you and I looked at each other like, that was a garbage basketball game, and neither team looked very good. And I was not in on Kansas at all this year. And then around January, February, I started thinking somebody has to go to the Final Four. I was like I realized I'm out on basically every team.
People forget the Final Four always happens. There will be a Final Four no matter what. Yeah.
So I slowly started talking myself back into Kansas. But I still don't think this team, talent-wise, should be this good. I don't think they should have beat Duke if you look at it on paper. And it's just a testament to how good Self did in this game. I mean, we could go through each of his decisions. I mean, he's throwing out triangle and twos. He's throwing zones out there. Coach K was. I'm gonna let you. I don't want to step on your toes here because I know you're licking your lips for the opportunity to rip on Coach K. But this was. I'm not sure. There wasn't a single coaching decision this man made in this game where you're like, okay, good job, K, on that call.
Yeah, it was one of those things where Coach K sat down, which is this is very interesting when you look at how Duke handles games and how K handles games and sort of how he coaches. In this game, he was very docile. He was sitting down. He was making a lot of calls, like he was commanding the game from his chair. Bill Self is up and about, spry, coaching his team, trying to get these guys figured out. And they're running these same plays against Duke, which is one of the K's staples is, I'm going to take a timeout. I got to stop this. And they kept getting the same back cut action with Malik Newman, where they get him this three in the corner. And no matter what they were doing, they were drawing up these inbounds plays to get that same action. And somehow with this 2-3 zone, this top defense that we've been talking about the past few weeks, where Duke's 2-3 defense is unstoppable, even though we've pretty much figured out that it's just put 4 guys up and try to press them out. It's not even a real 2-3 at this point.
It's not even a zone. That's the frustrating part with the zone, and I bought into the Duke zone. Like, it was working. So I know a lot of people are like, Titus, you were talking about how great Duke's defense was.
But the zone is working because they're scoring also, and they have great offense.
I also brought up, like, all along that every time Carolina was about to play Duke, I'd always joke, like, Luke May is going to torch him in the high post, because if you actually, like, watch Duke play defense, you can get open shots very easily. Yeah. They have no idea what the hell they're doing. The reason I bought into, like, the zone working was because at a certain point, it doesn't matter, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and Joes, as we say. And Duke's so long, so athletic. They have 5 NBA guys out there at all times that I felt like the zone worked for them enough that they would have then carried them to a national title. There was never a point where I was like, Duke is going to win a national championship on the strength of its defense. That the zone was never that good. And tonight we saw that the zone, it's not even a zone. We literally have no idea what to do defensively, and that's the shocking part to me with Coach K, is that so many people were, like, applauding the balls on this. We have a 70-year-old legend. He's been doing man-to-man his whole life, but to adapt to the modern game, that just shows the genius of Coach K. And if that was what he actually was doing, I would agree. I would be like, damn, I think Coach K has adapted in a lot of ways, and that I will stand by saying he's the greatest coach who's ever lived. But this was not a case of Coach K adapting to, his personnel or whatever. This was a case of Coach K saying, we don't have shit that works. We have nothing. We can't figure out anything defensively. I'm just going to throw my guys out there, kind of give them a little pointers. And during this Kansas game, they're running the 2-3. It becomes like a 4-1 where they keep one guy back. Bill Self, who for years has been great at 2-3 sets. Like, that's his thing, is zone sets. You watch Kansas play, something like they had their struggles against Washington this year against a 2-3. That's more because they get, like, they want to jack threes.
But you can go back to they played Syracuse down in that Miami Heat arena, and they blew them out, and they had a great game against the zone because they hit threes.
They always Self always has the baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds. They've always got the sets ready. So they coming into this, they know Duke's going to push up, do the basically 4 guys above the free throw line.
Yeah, cheat up and try to beat us.
He's just throwing lobs to Azubuike. They're carving up the zone. And K's adjustment isn't like, okay, so now here's what we're going to do to fix this. His adjustment is like, shit, I guess we better put someone there. And they start, like, throwing Grayson into the high post. It becomes like a 1-3-1. And then you start seeing, like, ball movement from Kansas, and there is no zone. It's like it's just a fire drill is what it looks like. They're just everyone's just running around out there. And, I mean, Kansas knew this. If you actually studied the tape, which, I did because I'm a basketball junkie and I take my job very seriously. I get in there with the clicker and I'm fast forwarding and rewinding. And I mean, in all seriousness, like, you watch it, you're like, there are shots to be had against Duke. It's just a matter of
will you make them?
Will you make them? Do you make shots? And Kansas carved them up all night, and that's why I think, like, Self was he's throwing out defensive. He's doubling Bagley. You're a big fan of that.
I have been saying at the start of this podcast when I looked at this Duke team, the way to beat them is to double Bagley, because you have to make Bagley make a decision, right? When he has 2 guys, especially when you have this Kansas team where they're basically playing 4 guards and 1 big guy. So it's Azubuike who's out there who's, just trying to make it up and down the court every single time because he's so worn out and tired. The best part about Azubuike in this game is his tiredness, like, somehow it got infected, and Wendell Carter started getting tired too. He's like,
everybody's tired.
He's like, I'm pretty tired too. I don't want to do this. I think the difference in this game, and when I talked about K and what happened with him himself, was you go into this game and you look at these 2 teams and you say, well, Duke has 2 elite big men that are going to carve these guys up. How is Kansas going to match up with them? Well, Svi Mikhailuk's going to have to guard Bagley, but not really, because every single time that happens, Graham or Newman or whoever it was is going to help out every single time. They're going to double him, as we said before. But Carter, when he gets in foul trouble, Duke ends up having to match up with Kansas. So they put in DeLaurier, and now they're playing into the hands of Bill Self, and now they're playing a smaller lineup. They didn't trust Bolden.
And then Bill Self goes triangle too for a few possessions when DeLaurier comes in. And then they tried O'Connell. And, like, K was reacting to everything Self was doing.
And Self was,
that's why
he was baiting him into it.
That's why I think this was the best coach game I've ever seen from Bill Self. Every single move. And it wasn't a case that so often, like, when coaches pull an upset, you're like, damn, that coach, and this wasn't technically an upset, I know. I don't mean to disparage Kansas team, but, like, there are other times where, like, a coach will pull an upset and you'll say, damn, what a masterful job by this coach, where he didn't really do anything. Like maybe one of his players just pulled shots out of his ass and you're like, damn, coach, great call on that one. This was a game where, like, Self was like, every decision he made had a purpose. He actually put thought in. He understood exactly what he was doing. And like, every single decision worked out. And that's why, like, it was such a masterclass to me. And I'm being serious. And it feels I guess if you watch the game, it's not necessarily a controversial point, but I make a lot of sarcastic remarks on here. And I don't want people, I don't want people to think I'm joking. Like it was amazing. It was amazing to see, like, you could see the wheels turning, and like the smirk was like, I know what I'm doing, and not like a, God damn, I'm gonna lose in the Elite Eight again smirk. It was like a, yes, my time is now, and you see like him pumping the fist and all that kind of stuff. It was awesome.
And I kind of want to take a step back too with this Kansas team. I know a lot of people have, we've been on this podcast and you talked about the Champions Classic when we started. We looked at Kansas, and the problem that we had was they don't have an inside-out game, which is what Bill Self kind of wants with this team.
Right.
Granted, he has these 4 guards to put around, but as a bouquet, we didn't know how much we could trust him in the tournament. First of all, DeSosa at this point wasn't even on the team when we were watching these guys, and then they had the Billy Preston mystery, which we've covered, ad nauseum on this program.
Oh, thank God that Billy Preston did not play much of this.
And just
thank
think
God
about
he
it.
didn't jeopardize.
I think all the stars have aligned for this Kansas team this season because if you have Preston on the bench, then you're in this Carlton Bragg situation where I'm trying to find minutes for this guy. I'm rolling him out there. He's really hurting us. We have 6 minutes of him out there, and it really hurt the team.
I was talking less about hurting them now and more hurting them like 4 years from now when evidence comes to light. That's what I meant more than anything.
This is called it works both ways.
Yeah.
It's a double entendre, as they say. I just want to say DeSosa, I was so impressed with this kid. I didn't expect anything from him. This is a January enrollee.
Yeah.
Somehow they got into Kansas straight out of high school, a year
Genius.
early, just a genius, something that we should really talk about. But he had this great game today, and he matched up so well with his team. As a bouquet was great. He fouls out of the game. I just want to talk about some of the moments. So Carter hits that big 3, right? Duke's down 62-61. Carter hits the big 3. They take the lead 64-62. We're looking at each other. Okay, Duke's going to go on the run. This is about 5 minutes left in the game. This is it. This is when Duke finally goes on the 7-0 run, and they get ahead, and Kansas kind of like tightens up, and the game is over. But for whatever reason, this Kansas team, a team that Bill Self had called soft, a team that he didn't even believe in. I love all these Kansas fans now. They're like, you guys called him out. It's like your coach
did.
He called him soft at one point. And meanwhile, Kansas is back-cutting this team, diving for loose balls, not giving up on rebounds, tipping the ball out. Svi Mykhailiuk gets 15 wide-open threes before he finally hits one to tie the game. There was just so many things that Kansas did. They did the extra little dirty stuff that Self had been saying earlier in the season they didn't do.
My heart was going to break so badly for the Ukraine maker if he didn't hit that last one that he took.
Oh, my God.
He had so many opportunities for daggers, and he's stepping on every side. He's stepping on the baseline. He's stepping on the sideline. He's missing open threes. I was like, the way Duke went out has to be satisfying for a fan, for a Duke hater such as yourself, to have Grayson go, what was he, 3 for 13, I want to say?
Grayson was 3 for 13, 2 for 9. But 4 for 4 from the free throw line, of course. He had the big free throws down the stretch, to give him the lead. Because it felt like it was the perfect version of this game where Grayson Allen draws fouls, goes to the free throw lines, hits his free throws, Duke wins the game, and everyone's like, good job by Grayson closing this one out. What a senior move.
We have Duke losing on the Wendell Carter block call was a huge it was a terrible call. Mm-hmm. You could say it just
absolutely.
laugh at it. Yeah, it was an absolutely terrible call.
There was not a time in my life that I can remember where there was a 50-50. I wouldn't even say this was a 50-50 charge call. This is a 80-20. This is 100% a charge. The dude, Wendell Carter, has his hands straight up in the air. He looks like a stick man. He's been standing there for at least 5 minutes. And somehow, they call this block. And the best thing about Coach K, and I say this with love, is that Coach K never lets an official get away with something. A slight against him, he will never get away with. And every single official that's on that sideline running down next to K, it's their nightmare. They don't want to deal with that. So they get the block call. Carter gets his 5th. He comes out of the game. It's amazing he even made it to overtime. Azubuike has already fouled out at this point. Pulls him out. K immediately calls a timeout. And you're thinking, well, he probably just wants to get his team together and say, hey, guys, we lost Wendell, but we're going to come back. Deloria is going to come in and get this thing going. That's what most coaches might do. That's not what K's doing. He has not looked at one of his players. He's looking for the closest official, and he's like, come here, you little shit. Do you love your family? How much do you love them? How much do you love your family? And they're like about to cry. They're like, Coach, I really didn't want him to call that. I knew it was a charge. I'm so sorry. But K, he did that. He yells at him, shits on him, and nothing changes. And usually there's a drastic change. Usually Coach K, he carries such authority that he has that moment, and then all the officials are like, we got to fix this thing. We got to get this thing going. We got to get things going on the right track at this point.
That's what I mean. It had to have been beautiful for you that a pivotal call.
It didn't work.
A pivotal call went against
This is the
Duke.
first time. I've never seen it not work.
K yells at the ref.
I'm at a loss for words.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Grayson gets the game-winning shot at the end of regulation, and I wouldn't say chokes, but he gets the ball. They do the ISO clear out, and it's like this is my time. This is where I submit myself in NCAA tournament lore, hitting this pull up. And he tries to make a move, and he's like, shit, I can't get open. And then he just kind of puts his head down and tries to do a bull and China shop thing and throw it out. Kind of what he did against Virginia a couple years. I think it was maybe it was last year. I get my years mixed up.
It was 2015, I think.
Yeah. The Virginia team when they beat him they beat him in Durham on the kind of does that thing where he's like, I'm gonna put my head down, drive, and just kind of shoot a little 7-foot thing, try to bank it in. Misses that. He's like 3 for 13 on the game, and on top of all that,
Trevon Duval.
Who, just the sheer fact that he goes by the name that he does has pissed you off all season. I
don't think it's just pissed me off. I think it's upset America.
Has the huge three in the corner in the overtime to tie it, I believe.
To take the lead.
It was to take the lead.
Yes.
In overtime.
Yes. And
That's
Duke,
right.
Everything's rolling. We're back. Duke is back.
That was the shot. Like, that was the shot.
Yes.
That goes in.
It's like everyone calm down. We're good. Someone slapped the floor. Let's get our hands up. Let's play some defense.
So that had to be delicious for you.
And none of it happened. And that's what I say all this to say. I remember when Gordon Hayward took that shot in 2010. And that's why it all comes back. And that's why this year reminds me so much of 2010. When Gordon Hayward took the shot, it banks off, hits the front of the rim, goes out. Duke wins the national title. I sat down and I was like, oh, my God, I can't believe we've gotten here. How did this team win a national title? Everything I've ever thought about basketball was wrong. And that's how this tournament has made me feel a little bit until Grayson Allen took that shot today. And first of all, I knew that he was going to get the foul call. I just knew it. I was like, of course he's going to get a foul here. He's going to do the I'm flopping all over the place. I get the foul. Doesn't get the foul call. Puts the shot up. It goes everything, but it has to hurt for Grayson. I know. It goes all the way down and out. Comes out. He looks shocked. He looks shook. And I think from there, I just think Duke did not know what to do. I think they could not believe the shot did not go in. I think that they thought that it was going to go. Everything played out perfectly for Duke to hit that shot for them to win, for Bill Self to have coached this amazing game, and it still not be enough to beat Duke because they were talented enough to win this game. And we're sitting here and Kansas made it. I can't believe it.
I got to say it. There goes my bracket. There goes my bracket now.
Oh, man.
It was definitely the game of the tournament. And,
yes. This is what we wanted in every single
We were focused in on the Kansas-Duke game. Let's pull the conversation back out to a broader topic of just the overall feel of the tournament, where you said to me, and I agreed, I'm not in agreement. I don't want to throw you under the bus here, that if Texas Tech and if Texas Tech beat Villanova, as we were watching the Florida State game, we were like, if Florida State and Texas Tech both make the Final Four, just cancel the season. Just erase it from the history books.
Or at least let us know that the regular season doesn't matter.
But the point was, like, this whole tournament to Tate and I has not been good basketball.
Yes.
There are a ton of fun stories. We've made this point before, but I'm just going to reiterate it. That, like, UMBC, awesome story, fun. We were there for that.
Love Lyles.
Loyola, great story. Awesome. They won the title in '63.
They're a sleeping giant. We called it. We wanted them to come back.
Great story. Michigan's like, they're all these great stories. All four of these fan bases are like, what do you mean the tournament sucks? It's awesome. My team keeps winning. The basketball has not been good in a lot of these games. The matchups that we want aren't happening. We want to see the Titans go together and meet and have no idea what's going to happen in these games. The reviews are taking, I mean, my God, with these reviews at the end of every game, the last 2 minutes of every single game takes 45 minutes. And you throw all this, the officiating, they're calling every single offensive foul except for the Wendell Carter. Like, that's probably why I was shocked more than anything. Beyond just the Duke part, it was like, officials can't resist making charge calls.
Especially when they've been doing this whole thing where, like, the officials may know that it's not the right call, but they've been calling it this way all season, so they have to make the call. Like, that was a charge all season.
Right.
Every single person says that's a
charge.
Yeah. Like, Wendell Carter, he could have gotten his fifth foul at other times, I will say that, but that was not the time to get his fifth foul.
And I say that to say, like, anybody who knows where I stand on any of this stuff, like, I hate people that take charges. I hate the concept of a charge. I want it to go away. But, like, if we're gonna call it all season, like, I don't know, that call is.
And it's the originator. Like, this is the team that does that. So for them not to get that call.
But the tournament at large was just, it was not a product that I would say, in 20 years from now, and someone was like trying to get into college basketball, and they're like, give me a tournament I should go back and watch to, like, get a feel for what college basketball was like. I would not point them to the 2018 tournament. And you can say, Titus, you're just saying that because Ohio State lost and you're salty and Michigan's blah, blah, Virginia, blah. Maybe. my response would be Ohio State loses in every tournament. We haven't even been in a lot of these tournaments. Like, if that was the case, I would be salty at every tournament. I've loved a lot of tournaments. I have not loved this tournament.
And to be fair, you haven't even like brought up Ohio State to me in random in just conversation. So I don't think you're jaded by it.
No,
I may be jaded.
I knew Ohio State. Like, I was happy to be here. It was fine. Like, it's just like the quality of play across the board has not been great. And I say all that to say Kansas Duke is what we wanted. This is the kind of game that we wanted. We wanted two teams that have a ton of talent that have been good all year or shown flashes. Like, that at some point in the season, you're like, that is a national championship team. And it goes to overtime, and it's great. I mean, we should mention, like, the start of this game was kind of
terrible. How many air balls were in this game? Yeah. It was unbelievable.
It was very bad. But this is what we wanted, and I guess, like, that's a conversation, a larger conversation. Like, I totally get casual fans listening to this are doing a jerking off motion, and they're like, well, poor baby, you don't get your blue blood matchups. I get it. When I watch, like, the NFL, I don't care about football that much, so when I'm watching the NFL playoffs, I also want the underdogs. I was cheering for the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl. I think that'd be a funny story, all that kind of stuff. But the same, like, people who cover the NFL are the same way. They're like, it kind of like devalues the sport when if Loyola wins the title, like, it's all. I totally get it's awesome for the casual fans, but you and I are looking at each other like, what the hell is the point of us even talking about college basketball here if just Loyola rolls in with the 98-year-old on the sideline clapping for him
And Bill's going to replace us on this podcast with that email listener that said Loyola was going to go to the final game.
We're just insecure about it. But I think that's true of every sport. Like, the people who are diehard fans of the sport, at the end of the day, you want the teams that you've been watching all season that have been like
1 and 2, bouncing around top 5, like
you
going
to
up
see
and
them
down,
meet.
getting hot. Yeah,
it's like a TV show. You got these main characters, and it's building towards like a face-off between the two main characters. Only instead, it's like the one guy who had like 3 lines in the first episode of season 2 is now popping back up, and he's the main player. You're like, what?
Oh, that guy?
What's the point of,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Tate and I have stood, and all that is to say that Kansas Duke was the reason we felt that way. We are back in on the tournament now. Kansas Villanova is going to be an absolutely insane game. They're basically the exact same team, except Azubuike can jump higher and dunk.
Than Spellman.
And Spellman can step out and hit threes. But otherwise, they're like basically the exact same team.
And they're built the same way, which is basically 4 guys, 4 guards, 4 wings, whatever you want to call them, with one big man to get in there and get dirty, get some rebounds, get some easy buckets to get your offense going. I just want to talk about Vic and Newman, those two guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Devontae Graham. I can get into that a little bit more. He's been awesome for this team. He hasn't had the best tournament. I think he had a good game today, kind of kept his team together. He's almost like a commander of his troops,
right.
You know what I mean? But he needs the troops to do it. Like, he's got so much attention on him as the number 1 option that now he can't really be the guy to score, but he wants to get these guys involved. And Newman has 32, which is unbelievable. 5 for 12 from 3, 11 to 12 from the free throw line, hit some big free throws down the stretch. And LaGerald Vick, for all the stuff that goes on with LaGerald Vick, I know a lot of people have made comments about he's like on and off. You never know if he's going to show up or not. Well, he showed up. He showed up in this game. I mean,
you never know if he's the X factor, the glue guy.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's up in the air. They're like, I don't know what to do with this guy. Is he Josh Jackson? I'm not sure. Like, it's the same guy somehow. They do the exact same things. But LaGerald Vick had an awesome game too, and those two guys pretty much won the game for Kansas. And I know that everyone's going to talk about Graham and Svi Mikhailuk, and obviously Svi hit the big 3 late, but those two guys were awesome.
Yeah. Congrats, Kansas fans.
You did it.
Well, Tate and I will keep doubting. We'll keep doubting you. Keep doubting us.
I love that every single person that's made it to the Final Four has now said that we've doubted them.
We've doubted you. Yes.
I guess we haven't doubted Villanova.
We've never really doubted Villanova. That's probably not true. At one point, I probably said, like, hey, Villanova, you shoot 36 threes a game. What happens if you don't hit those threes? Maybe you'll lose.
Let's talk about it.
And then the Villanova fans are like, oh, what? Come on. I think you and I are just insecure. I think this is a good sign for us. I think we've the Duffel Bag Boys have risen to a level where when someone wins, their first thought is like, I want to tweet at Tate and Titus to tell them to suck it. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
I'm fine with that.
I think the more people you have hating you in life, the more successful you are, right?
Hate us because they ain't us, right? Is that what they say?
That's how it works?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's talk about Villanova, Texas Tech real quick.
Well, you just mentioned if Villanova misses threes, how are they going to win games? Well, folks, we just saw it. They missed threes and they beat Texas Tech by, God knows how much, 15 at this point, I think. I don't even have the final score in front of me.
It helps that Texas Tech's offense was anemic. It helps that, like, all these athletes that Texas Tech has are really, really good at jumping and providing highlight dunks and even playing defense.
Maybe not doing the skills part of basketball, which is like finishing a layup, maybe tipping the ball back in, maybe taking a jump shot and making it every once in a while.
You don't get points for jumping really high. You do if you catch it and dunk it, but, that's
that was tough.
Yeah, not a great game. And this is to our point again about, like, this the quality of play. Like, this Texas Tech-Villanova game was not fun to watch for long stretches.
But even as we were watching it, we felt Texas Tech, they've hit their ceiling. Like the Elite Eight for Texas Tech, first of all, for the program, it's amazing for them to make an Elite Eight. Chris Beard's had a great year. They knocked Purdue out, one of the teams that people considered a perennial contender the entire year. That's a great year for Texas Tech. But you could feel it in this game against Villanova. They were outmatched. They felt like they were rushing a little bit. They obviously knew that they were in the Elite Eight. They were a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous. We saw it with Florida State a little bit too, like when they were playing Michigan. It's just the moment is very big. You're playing the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. Your team is just realizing that. They are the pioneers of your program to do something like this. It gets in your head. It affects you. And then we get bad games. We get sloppy turnovers. We get missed layups. And, if you're Villanova, you take advantage and you win.
Villanova is good. I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. Yeah, their offense, that was the concern, was the live by the three, die by the three. Villanova's obviously live by the three. They've sold out. Like, they know that they shoot a ton of threes at this point. Like, it's no secret. It's not like they just kind of put their head down and just started playing games and just kind of see what comes to them. And then at some point in mid-January, they looked up and like, damn, we shoot a ton of threes. Like, all of this was by design. And they were unapologetic about it. Like every single guy on the team, Jay Wright included, is like, yeah, we shoot a ton of we're good at it. I mean, we're shooting 40% from the three-point line. Why would we not shoot threes? So the concern all year is, like, you're in a one-and-done format, NCAA tournament, cold nights happen. Sometimes you don't hit shots. Is Villanova going to die by the three? We found out tonight they did not hit shots. They were very bad at the outside shooting, and they did not die because their offense is so good. It's not just three-point shooting. They have a point guard who can post guys up. This guy has to be National Player of the Year, Tate. I can't believe people have been arguing anything else.
Have they? Oh, my God. I haven't heard this. Jalen Brunson, National Player of the Year?
I'm standing by. All the people tweeted at me. I'm standing by Marvin Bagley deserves National Player of the Year. But again, if Jalen Brunson is the second best player. That's very good. I'm saying very good things about him. He's incredible. He posts up. They have a point guard. They have a center in Spellman who steps out and shoots threes with the hand in his face. And they have a point guard in Brunson who posts up on the low block and gets buckets on anyone guarding him. How do you guard any of these guys?
That's the opposite of what usually happens.
Yeah, that's not how it usually it's the big guy posting.
If you've watched basketball, that's not how that usually works. I was going to say this about Bagley too. I mean, today was the stage to take that National Player of the Year.
Yeah, it was.
This was the game.
But it wasn't
to go against Azubuike and those guys and to be getting doubled.
In Bagley's defense, it wasn't necessarily his fault. He was getting doubled. It could have helped if he used his right hand at any point. Yeah. Like, as soon as he gets doubled, he's like, I'm just going to dribble left and in giant circle.
In a circle and then throw it to someone in the corner or do a hook shot and hope it goes in.
His idea of going right is taking like three lefts, and he just dribbles in a circle and then he ends up with the, if he would have just gone right.
But the impact he had on the game with Duval, though, I mean, he basically helps Duval have a 20-point game. He's the reason Duval
had 20 points, Yeah, Bagley played well, I thought, tonight. Yeah, he had a moment. He was getting really pissed off, and I thought we were going to get the moments with like 8 minutes left.
As they were making their run.
Yeah, Bagley was like he was getting frustrated at everything. I thought it was coming. He was just going to start dunking on the world, and then it just didn't happen.
He just missed a couple free throws instead.
Yeah, Duke just didn't have the parts this year. 5 NBA guys just wasn't enough.
Do you think, and I know this is a quick tangent, do you think this hurts Coach K's legacy? This little iteration, season? This little run? No, I mean, there's like a 3-year, 4-year window of what's going on with Coach K, which is Coach K had this beautiful thing where he came in 1980 to Duke. He took a program that was, basically the little brother to North Carolina for a good amount of time, and he takes them and he's got these like scrappy guys that work hard. He takes them to the next level. He's known for coaching guys up, not getting the best players, and teaching defense and basically playing team defense and all that sort of stuff. And now he's getting the best players. They're just filtering into their program like it's nothing. 3 straight number 1 classes. Hold
on. Are you going down the Zion? We already did this on the Zion Williamson pod. That was a cringe fest, man.
It was a cringe fest.
It was so cringy how you guys talked about Coach K, and it was cringe, man.
Come on.
What do you mean he's lost his step? What do you mean he's hurting his legacy?
He's hurting his legacy right now.
Of course he is.
He's hurting his legacy because he just got outcoached by Bill Self on a big stage with a better team.
It's fine. That's
running a 2-3 zone.
That's what he wants. That's fine. That's what I mean. I think
sitting down.
As I've said about K,
getting walked over.
As I've said about K and Cal, they're not playing the same game as every other coach. And I don't know what game, like they're playing like some sort of brand game. They're playing like larger than life. They're not trying, from my understanding, they're not trying to win national championships. They are obviously trying to win national championships eventually.
It's the cherry on top.
That is not priority number one. Priority one is build some sort of brand, get guys to the NBA. We're going to be like the destination spot for all the best players. Like that's the priority number one for both of them. And that's fine. Like if that's what K is setting out to do, he's doing it wonderfully. Like we talk about Duke all year. I thought it was Duke's year. I'm going to think it's Duke's year next year, even though their parts don't match up at all, and they're going to have a shitty team and going to struggle and not play defense well and all that kind of stuff. I'm still going to think it's their year.
2002 Coach K would have never sat idly by today.
No,
while all this played out.
Of course not.
And I can't believe that it happened. I really can't. And he doesn't seem as affected by it. I know that, I guess it's like a getting fat and happy. It's almost gluttony at this point. He's gotten so far ahead of everyone else that it doesn't matter. Like, he's passing every single record. He is setting every single record. And at this point, he's kind of fine. But I think that Coach K, if he is going to be like when Coach K leaves Duke, it is over. Like there's going like he is the pinnacle. If you think that he is the greatest coach of all time, which I would argue, there's some reasons why he's not, but I know a lot of people believe that.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't leave Duke with at least, he may be the last guy to take Duke to the national championship. We don't know that. Like the program is Coach K's program. It is Krzyzewskiville. It is Coach K centric. It is everything about him. These are his. This is his last run. This is like everything he's supposed to do. This is a long marathon, and he's trying to make a big sprint to the end with all these top players and try to make his mark, try to get Hall of Fame NBA guys. And he just looked passive today. And I say that I'm disappointed because you have convinced me. You would convince me that this year was the typical Duke, North Carolina, we switch out, who wins, 2009, 2010 type of thing. And I thought it was all going to happen. I thought it was all setting up for this, and Coach K let me down.
And the point, and if I defend us again, because we're going to have Duke people, oh, it's so cringy. You're so I can just
Why
feel
is it
your
cringy
hatred.
that I'm upset that he let I think he let us all down.
But what I'm going to say is like, Duke's not winning anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. That's the big takeaway. Is like we're not haters of Duke. Like they win another national championship, and we're like, oh man, we got to talk shit about this team because we're so jealous of how they win everything. They don't win ACC titles. They don't win national titles. They won the one in 2015. They went all in on the one and done thing. They have 0 Final Four since. Every single year, they're the team that everyone talks about. It's them in Kentucky. And
when they won in 2015, everyone basically said, "This is the formula."
That's what I'm saying.
Figured it out. Like they're going to do this every single year and run it back.
K was dipping his toes in the water. Even the 2015 team, the way it was constructed, was not a one and done team.
No, it was Quentin Cook as a senior. And
it was Okafor was the one and done guy.
Emil Jefferson.
Winslow was maybe a one and done guy.
Yeah.
Jones was not a one and done guy, and they just played so well, like they had to go. But he didn't. He was dipping his toes in the water. He's like, okay, Jeff, if you're saying
he won the title, and he's like, all right,
okay,
we're all
this
in.
is what we're doing.
Yes.
And then since you go all in, they've done nothing. And I say that from disappointment as well. Like I get excited about Duke every single year. It's going to happen again next year. They're going to bring in the top 3 guys. I'm going to look at that roster. I'm going to be like, it's Duke's year. Here we go. We're going to talk on the podcast. I'm going to rub it into you that these guys look great. Who's going to stop them? They find like mid-February is going to roll around and be like, they're figuring out the defense, Tate. And then they're not going to make the Final Four again. And we're going to be right back here. And everyone's going to be like, you guys are haters because you're pointing out that the greatest coach of all time somehow cannot get 5 NBA players to a Final Four. I don't know. Maybe that does make us haters.
Does it do something? Does it say something about Grayson Allen and how this thing sort of ended up where it sort of fell on his shoulders? The shot, it goes all the way down. It was kind of like Grayson's whole career, It seemed like there was so much like in 2015 when they won the title with him scoring 15 points or whatever he did in that game, we're like, this is the face of Duke basketball. This kid's going to be here.
Yeah.
He's going to lead this team. And then there's been so many times where, like, they're the team now in 2016. Oh, 2017. Watch this team. You just see them beat Carolina in the ACC tournament. And then again this year, it was like, this is their time. They finally put it all together. And every single time they fell short for whatever reason. And I think a lot of it was Grayson putting it on himself and onus on himself to be the guy to take over. And Duke basketball is teamwork. It's team basketball. And that's what K got away from. That's the whole point.
And it's a damn shame, isn't it?
No, not really.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We're going to talk about our Michigan Wolverines, our family, our guys.
Mm-hmm.
We are part. In case you missed it, we are part of the Michigan basketball family at this point. Ohio State fans are losing their minds listening to me say this. I will explain. But first, we'll take a break. All right, Tate. Michigan. Let's transition to the left side of the bracket. We'll start with the Michigan Wolverines. We were in Staples Center again for the Elite Eight game, Michigan versus Florida State.
I'm taking my analysis cap off.
Yep.
I'm just like, let's talk about the experience of what it was like
I
to
want
be
to
a
say,
part of the Michigan
I want to say
Wolverines.
this Michigan team is destroying any ounce of journalistic integrity I had, at least with Ohio State and Indiana, the two teams I cheer for the most. I never pretended to like you guys knew what you were getting with me. You knew that I was always going to cheer for Ohio State and Indiana. But like as soon as Ohio State and Indiana are taken out of championship contention, I like to believe that I then take an unbiased approach to the rest of the season.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
And I'm trying, man. I really am.
We are.
But I'm getting sucked into the Michigan thing. Where do we start?
We start with the fact that we go to the game, right?
Yep.
We're out in Los Angeles, folks. We are watching basketball. We've got media passes now. We're getting treated like real journalists for the first time under the new umbrella of One Shining Podcast. As we go in, people were being very nice, very friendly. We've seen multiple fans come up to Mark Titus and say, that blog that you wrote that time in 2010 about that elliptical, that was so important to me. And Mark Titus is like getting fawned over. It's unbelievable. It's like watching Kate Upton go, walk around a mall. Just people fawning over him, coming up to him, kissing the ring. He just dabbles his rings around like Rick James.
The Final
like,
Four ring, because I went to the Final Four in 2007.
Yeah, you're doing that. Yeah. You're letting everyone know.
As a Division I basketball player. Yeah, go ahead. Continue.
So it's been great. We're just walking around. We're having a great time. We're meeting people, talking to lots of people. We're at the game. Florida State's taking on Michigan, which was a fun game. We get Leonard Hamilton, Lenny Hams, going up against our boys at Michigan, going against Beeline, and we get this great first half, right? So we're sitting on press row. We're watching these two teams go at it. We're going back and forth.
The Sports Illustrated kid has a better seat than we do.
He's sitting right in front of us.
8-year-old who's Sports Illustrated.
He's like looking back at us, like trying to flick us off and stuff, like throwing shit at us.
He really is looking back at us, mocking us. He's like, hey.
He's like waving to people in the crowd. He's like, look at me. He's like, these guys, like, it's crazy. I've never been picked on like that, and it was tough. It hurt my feelings a little bit, but he moves on. We get not only that, but we get the whole Florida State team, which is the most intimidating team to see in person. You called them the airport team, which I think is a great way to describe them. We get them in front of us in person. We have the Florida State fans,
the
family
sitting right next to us,
who's like yelling at ref. The official this entire time has got like a dad right here, a Florida State dad. We don't know who exactly the dad was. It was like Phil he's talking to everybody on the team, and they all seem to have a rapport with him, so we have no idea. But he's also got the official right closest to us. He's got his ear the entire game. He's like, come on, we need one call down here. And he's like turning over to him and winking at him. He's like, I'll get you one.
It felt like an AAU game because all the parents were.
It felt like a Nike showcase, like somehow the
officials
officials don't really care that much, but like this is an Elite Eight game.
Yeah.
It's very casual and low key, which was kind of fitting for Michigan, Florida State. We said it was almost like a football matchup, but now we get this great basketball game.
95% at least Michigan fans
absolutely
just overrun all of Los Angeles. They're doing the shout out to the Florida State fans who were there when you do the tomahawk chop cheer. You did get that going a little bit. But as soon as they tried, the Michigan fans, they're playing about 20 minutes from Ann Arbor. It's a home game for them. So
they do the let's go blue. Let's go blue.
Yeah.
It sounds like let's go Duke. It drives me crazy.
You're not going to get me to say those.
Yeah,
words,
I know.
So
I'm happy.
I'm not taking it that far. I'm cheering for the guys inside that locker room. Everyone else can go to hell.
Which has been a great revelation.
It's been very bizarre for me because Michigan. I've brought it up 1,000 times on here. I don't really view them as a rival to Ohio State, but they are in the Big Ten. They are a rival. It's not like I hate these people with all my heart and soul, but it is a rival to teams I like. I never imagined a day where I would be cheering for them, and the whole go. I'm not even going to say the words, but that whole because someone could cut it out and just have my voice saying
forever
words.
saying go blue.
So I'm not saying that, but they say those things. They're singing the song with the
Hail to the Victors.
You can say it. They're doing that whole thing, and it just disgusts me to my core. But then the team that they have is so fun that I just forget. I as I'm watching the game, I become colorblind. The yellow jersey turns into like a scarlet jersey, and I'm back, and I'm just cheering for the guys. And that's where I stand on all this. That's how I rationalize it. And I know that's not good enough. Honestly, I think like the more time you spend in basketball, and as you get to know people, and we're lucky enough to get to talk to people and go into locker rooms and just people slide into our DMs and all that kind of stuff. You slowly realize that like basically every good program is the same. They're all they all have like fun guys. Like if someone on Villanova listened to the pod and we were in their locker room, I'm sure we'd be riding hard for them as well.
I hope it's DiVincenzo.
But you learn like all of this they're all the same. You start like you get to a point where you're just like, I just want to cheer for the people that are cool and less about the team. And that kind of like sucks. That's the part that sucks about getting older, because it's like the blind tribalism is one of the more fun things about sports. Is you're just like,
it's us against the world.
You just cheer against the other team, so therefore I hate you. And as I've gotten older, that's sort of subsided. I've become soft. Maybe it's because I live in LA now, just for temporarily, but like the LA is wearing off of me. I've become like a soft West Coast guy. I hate myself.
But it's also the mission statement of the podcast, which is it's a players first program. Which,
Yeah.
if you come join the
Yeah.
duffel bag boys, if
Yeah.
you come in with us, first of all, you're going to get a duffel bag. You know,
Yep.
there's no telling what could be in that duffel bag. It could just be a duffel bag. There's a duffel bag right next to me. Who's to say? But I will say this: we put the players first.
Right.
We care about the players, and that's all that matters.
Let's
It's not
talk about
the
let's talk
programs.
about this actual game for a little bit. So the first half was exciting. I felt like it was a defensive first half, but it like it wasn't like an explosive scoring up and down type thing, but it felt like it was solid basketball being played out there. Second half, not so much. It got very sloppy. A lot of just terrible fouls. Just no flow at all. Kind of bad basketball. Leonard Hamilton, I think before we get to the decision that we should talk about, which is the end of the game, the one decision I didn't understand, he puts Kamaji back in the game in the second half. And
Yes.
that's not what lost them the game, but that to me stood out because he starts Kamaji in the game. Kamaji gets circles run around him. This was not a game for him. And then he gets taken out. Like, he plays 3 minutes in the first half. They put him back in, and I was scratching my head at that point. That was one thing that stood out to me. But then the other thing with Leonard Hamilton, if we're going to dissect, like, where did this go wrong for Florida State? He had already lost the game, but like we got to talk about that last decision to not foul.
Well, I want to talk about, first of all, with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, Duncan Robinson hits a three to take a 10-point lead for
Friend of the
Michigan.
program.
Yeah, so it goes from we've got a ball game, folks, to it's a blowout.
It's blowout. It's over.
Every single game in this tournament, I've been joking to you every single time, like, well, we got us a ball game, or, well, this is a blowout. So we get the 10-point lead, and it's, well, it's a blowout. This one's over. And I felt like, for whatever reason, somehow this happens to Leonard Hamilton. That happens. They're down 230. Duncan Robinson hits the three to go up 10. It felt like Leonard was kind of like, all right, well, this one's over. He kind of felt like we did. Was like, well, folks, we're running out of time. It's not that the game's over. It's just that we're going to run out of time. And from there, Florida State chips back.
Savoy starts hitting shots, right?
Yeah, they start hitting threes, and he has a heat check to almost tie the game again. I think
there were
three.
two shots that Florida State had. One was Kofor in the
BJ Savoy was taking
in the corner.
Phil Kofor goes long right in front of us.
He thought that one was in.
Yeah.
So
did the whole Florida State
Florida State family.
They're already celebrating. They're about to start the
that
chant
Kofor
again.
corner three would have tied it, I believe. He misses that. That was huge. And then Savoy had the heat check from the wing that would have tied it as well.
After already hitting another three.
He had already
before.
hit, yeah.
To cut it to three.
Those are big ones. So Duncan, friend of the program, hits the dagger. We think it's over. They start chipping away. Dagger Robinson, as we are calling him, he has three clutch. One is the corner three that we already brought up. Two, there's the scrum for the ball.
The savviest timeout of the tournament.
He calls timeout from the other
30
side of
yards
the
away.
world.
Yeah.
And he gets the timeout somehow. If Jalen Brunson does that, like, people are giving him a standing ovation, saying, "Give him the National Player of the Year award now, folks." That is just a heady play.
That's what they do. Raptor. Oh my! What a
look
call.
at this kid. Look at that. Can you believe this kid? Can you believe it?
The wits on this kid.
So Duncan does that, and then he hits the clutch free throws at the end to put him up 4. He's like a 90-something% free throw shooter. He gets the ball at the end of the game. Leonard Hamilton decides not to foul because Michigan's up 4. Duncan has the ball. He calls off the dogs, and that's it. And I feel like Duncan put so many daggers in Florida State that Leonard Hamilton was like, I'm just going to lose my mind here and not even try to extend this game, even though everyone's like. So let's dive into this decision to not foul. I've seen a lot of people saying it doesn't matter. There was basically no chance at all. They're down 4. There's 8 seconds left.
Yeah.
You have a 90% free throw shooter. He's probably hitting.
Just made 2 free throws before.
Just made 2 free throws.
You miss. He gets the rebound. Now he has the ball. And you
Chances are you're going to be down 6 with 8 seconds to go. That's very hard to come back from. To which I say it is not impossible. We just saw Virginia. against Louisville.
Yes.
They were down 5 with what?
0.9.
0.9 or down 4 with 0.9.
Down 4 with 0.9. Yeah.
Down 4 with 0.9, and they won in regulation.
They also lost to a 16 seed in case.
Bad example. Yeah. No, so we've seen this happen before. So, like, I think that was the part that was jarring to a lot of people is just this idea of giving up. Like, if you have 0.00001% chance of winning and you give up, I think for most people, they don't like it, especially the Elite Eight on the, Final Four berth on the line, all that kind of stuff. But I sort of understand the, like, why extend the game? Like, some people maybe make the argument, Lenny Duffels was just being classy. He's like, we're not going to win. There's no point in dragging this out.
It's the opposite of that. It's the opposite of that.
What do you got to say?
He had I used to have a very bad attitude when I lose things. I completely understand where Leonard Hamilton was coming from. Yeah, still do. He was down. The game was over in his mind. He didn't want to go put Duncan on the line to get up 6. It was fine. He knew his team was going to come back. He was just trying to get back to the locker room. He did like I have an attitude, and I'm pissed that this game worked out and played out this way. He was upset about the officiating. The whole Florida State bench the entire game, it was like a back and forth between the fans over here and the bench just trying to argue for every single call, especially late in the game. So he was already frustrated. So he just basically called the dogs off and was like, let's get out of here. We've gotten screwed out of this game. We've only scored 54 points. I'm done with this, basically.
He didn't want the zoomed-in shot of him, like, dejected on the sideline.
He didn't want live look.
Yeah, live look. He did not want to be the live look meme.
Yeah.
Just like, let's just get this thing over with.
He was like, we're done. We got screwed out of this game,
all,
so we're
all
done.
of this makes sense to me, and all of it's defensible because, like, again, you could look at it and say, who cares? They were probably going to lose anyway. But what becomes confusing to me was then the post-game fallout. When he gets asked about it and just how out of it he is. He almost wasn't even – it wasn't like he was defensive. It wasn't like, Coach, why didn't you foul? And he was like, here's why. Boom, boom, boom. The game was over. Who cares? He was like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. What was it? What happened?
He was like, the game was over.
I thought the game was over, wasn't it? Was it? And they're like, no, it was 4 with it. He's like, was it? What?
He was acting like they were down 14 and the game was over. And I say all that to say was I think he was literally so heated about there were 2 bad foul calls in their mind. I saw their assistant coaches going crazy about it.
Right.
I think they were all so upset that they kind of just lost themselves in like what was actually happening on the floor, and they were already so strung out by what happened that they were just ready to get out of there. And then he kind of has an attitude towards Dana, and it becomes like in the media scrum, everyone's coming up to him like, did you see the Leonard post game? Did you hear about this? Did you see what Leonard was doing? He seemed very upset. He had no idea what was going on. And then he goes to the podium where everyone, all the media are there, and they're asking him questions, and he still doesn't give a really good answer as to why they didn't foul. And it's one thing not to foul and call the dogs off. It's another thing not to have a reason, because then people have even bigger questions. They're like, so you just did this? Like your team just decided to quit? And then he put out a statement today being like, I apologize for how I came across.
I take full responsibility. However, it was not my fault.
The classic.
Signed Rick Pitino.
The best apologies.
Yeah, and I think that's the concern I have is like, if you knew what you were doing, and you have an explanation, if you just stand by it, then that's fine. But yeah, that was just a little confusing. Again,
who are we to say what he should have done, or like if he didn't want to extend the game, it's fine. But to not know that you were down 4, it was just weird. Just perplexing.
I'm not saying this guy fire this man. I'm not saying what a shitty coach or anything like that. It was just more like it was just bizarre. It was just a little head scratcher. That's all it was. Speaking of the media scrum, let's play a little inside baseball here and tell the people how we went about.
Can we call it inside basketball?
Inside basketball.
I've always hated how baseball gets to own that phrase.
Yeah, I know.
It's like everybody has inside talks.
That's where sports journalism started, though.
I know. Grantland Rice. How do we stop that guy?
The old Big East of journalism. Grantland.
Go read those columns, folks. Written on notebook paper or papyrus. We're not sure.
So Tate and I get into the Michigan locker room, as we do, because we have media passes and we can get anywhere we want. So we're back there in the Michigan locker room, and I say that to say there's a big moment that happens where the Michigan SID says 2 minutes left, and we're still hobnobbing. We're still chopping it up with the players. As we're part of the family now. We've been welcomed in.
We were this close to getting on the stage. We decided not to.
Are we getting a ring, do you think?
I don't know. We got to
talk.
talk. We'll talk to him.
We'll see him in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And then the 2 minutes passes, and they're saying, media, out. All of you. Get out of our face. We want to celebrate. We want to, as a team, all have fun. Get out of here. Guess what Tate and I do? We don't leave.
Nope.
We stay there. And we're chopping it up with Duncan.
We're now wearing Michigan jerseys at this point.
Yeah, we're talking to Duncan Robinson, again, friend of the program, about his experience, and we're like, hey man, remember that time that you won? And he's like, it was awesome.
I remember.
Ooh, I remember. It was awesome. We're like, yeah, it was awesome, man. And he's like, yeah, it was. And we just kind of went back and forth, saying that 100 times. But the point is, Tate, we were not kicked out with the rest of the media. Ipso facto, if I understand this correctly, we are now part of the family, and now like I've been indoctrinated into this whole thing, and I'm cheering for Michigan to win it all. And
we have maize and blue on as
no,
as
calm
you're
down.
listening.
Again, I'm not wearing them. No, I'm not wearing the colors. I'm cheering for the guys, and I'm cheering for my family.
My guys,
my
your
guys,
our
my,
guys,
our
one shining
guys.
pod guys
in the locker room.
Yeah.
One of which do you want to introduce the people to your new nickname that you've come up with for the star of this tournament for Michigan?
Oh, what do you mean?
For Jordan.
Oh, Swaggy Pool.
Yeah.
Swaggy Pool.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
You don't know where I was going with
I
that.
called Wagner another
Okay.
name.
We'll get to Wagner in a second, but do the Swaggy
A
Pool
good
thing.
name, I'm sure.
Tell your Swaggy Pool story.
So basically, Swaggy Pool, I think I told it on the last podcast before the game when he missed all the shots. We all watched this. The guy has no conscience. Like nothing has affected him in this entire tournament. He plays, 4 minutes or 6 minutes at least, but he gets like a standing ovation as he gets put in the game. So they take livers out. Beeline's like, first of all, Poole was on the bench celebrating a 3. He was like dancing.
It was so funny.
He was like swagging back and forth, and everyone's like on the bench not doing that. It's just him doing that. And Beeline looks at him. He's like, get up, go get your ass in the game for livers.
Use that energy for something good instead of dancing.
It's like, go play defense for once. So he goes to the game. He like thanks the crowd. You know, like when a baseball player comes out and they tip of the cap after they get their 3,000th hit. Like that's what Poole does checking into this game.
He was Kobe on his last game in Staples Center. He comes in,
starts waving to the crowd. Everyone's like, Jordan. And then he gets into the game, and everyone's so excited. He plays about 4 minutes. I think he misses a shot. He has like a terrible defensive possession. He has a defensive lap, gets beats on a backdoor cut. He gets pulled directly from the game, unaffected. Just gets back out,
and
still
through it
waving at
all,
people.
when it comes time to cut down the nets, the biggest ovation was for Jordan Poole.
People went nuts. It was as if this man has willed it. It's like he's Kimball Walker of Michigan. He's willed this team all the way to the Final Four. Everyone's so excited. And the best part about it is we got to see the difference between the other guys. So, like, you see Abdur Rahman climb up. Everyone's like, a nice little, like,
our senior, our best player.
We like him. And then, like, Wagner gets up there last, puts a net, around his neck. Everyone's like, yeah, way to go, Wagner. But when Poole, it's like, they erupt. They just erupt. And I've called him Swaggy Poole because I've never understood Swaggy P and how like he's been able to just finesse his entire NBA career, especially going back to his Wizards days. And I feel like Jordan Poole has the same gene where he's just so unaffected by everything. He has no conscience. He makes shots somehow, and people love
I know
him.
nothing about the NBA, but when you brought up Swaggy Poole,
I don't know if anyone's ever called him that, by the way. So I'm calling him
It made a ton of
Swaggy
sense.
Poole.
I don't even follow really the NBA, but I know enough about Swaggy P. Nick Young. Nick Young's isn't the real name, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
I know enough about Nick Young to know that Swaggy Poole is a great nickname because they have very similar vibes to me as well.
And my favorite thing also is I just Googled Jordan Poole on Twitter just to kind of see where he's at, like what's going on. And the first thing that pops up is Jordan Poole responds to the many DMs he's gotten since he hit the shot. And, like, that's just exactly what I want from Jordan Poole. Don't talk about going to the Final Four and what it means to you as a basketball player. Talk about all the DMs you've gotten.
The DMs, We were
Swaggy
worried.
Poole.
We almost volunteered our services to Michigan's team to keep an eye on Swaggy Poole.
Yeah, we have no idea what he did in L.A. that
They
night.
stayed in L.A. after they won, and we were like, is someone going to keep an eye on this guy?
They were even concerned. They
Yeah.
were like, yeah, we have no idea what Jordan will do. We just hope he's on the plane tomorrow morning. My God, we have to get back to Ann Arbor.
He is 100% fits the bill of a like he's only a freshman.
Yes.
And he hits
He
the
has
biggest
braces,
shot.
I think.
Yeah, he hits the biggest shot in this tournament. Could potentially catapult Michigan to a national championship. He 100% fits the bill of a guy who the fans are going to turn on when he's a senior. Like he's a senior and he's averaging like 8.5 points a game and 2.5 turnovers. Everyone's like, I want to hate this kid, but like, and then
he did hit the shot.
And everyone's like, dude, he hit the shot. You can't say bad things about him. They're like, I know, he did hit the shot. God, ugh, like
I wish he didn't.
That feels like his destiny. I hope not. Like, we hope he has a good career. It'd be fun, but
I think the best thing about Jordan Poole is that I don't think he's going to be affected basketball-wise by hitting the shot. He may be affected off the court.
Off the court is
basketball-wise, he's not going to be affected, which is all good. That's the good news.
Do you want to go in on Wagner or no?
Let's talk about two of the media stars of this tournament. First, Morris Wagner. In this game, he has a horrible game. I mean, we're watching this whole time, and we're kind of waiting for him to get...
He fell on KOC's big board. He fell from 1 to 1A or 1B, I believe. 1B. He fell from 1A to 1B.
1B.1.
Yeah.
It's not all the way down to C. He hasn't quite got there yet. He will be. Wagner in this game is trying to get the crowd involved. He's doing the whole like, get everybody hyped up. He's like biting on his, mouthpiece. He's bouncing around. Like he would get fouled and he would all of a sudden start like throwing the fist pump. Like basically he's leaning in hard to being the star of this Michigan team of like, I'm going to be in every single one shining moment montage that anyone will make because I've had so many moments where I'm like grimacing or smiling or like winking at the ref. Like he's doing all these little things to get attention to the camera.
Right.
And we at this program, or at least me at this program, I'm not always a fan of that. I usually call them media.
You're an old school guy.
Yeah. Media whores. It's got the same initials, MW, and I was like, he's being a little bit about that. That's what he's doing in this tournament, and I don't know if you feel the same way. That's just kind of how I feel about it.
He's definitely a stolen valor guy.
Yeah,
we need to say that again. He's part of our family, our Michigan basketball family.
Yes.
So we're
I'm not
coming
talking
from a place of love.
Yes,
but he is a stolen valor guy.
I don't want him to get caught up in the cameras and the glitz and glamour of everything.
Somebody hits a big shot. This happened in the Big Ten tournament where Duncan gets a huge and one. I think it was either against Michigan State or Purdue, one of those games. Gets a huge and one, and Duncan, like his momentum, he shoots the layup and he kind of curves out towards the sideline. And as he's facing the sideline, he like starts flexing or like kind of celebrating. And then Wagner comes and just cuts him off and starts looking at the sideline too. And he's flexing and pointing to the crowd.
He gets right in front of him.
And you're like, what the? He hit the shot. Get out of the way. We're trying to see the guy who hit the shot. Wagner does have a little bit of that in him. But maybe, I guess you spin it this way. Maybe that's a good thing for Michigan. Maybe like, you're going to the Final Four. There are going to be a ton of distractions. We're going to have media day where there's just going to be cameras. You're going to fly in people from probably all over the world. There's going to be like other people, there's going to be a ton of media distractions. If you're John Beilein, you can say, everybody just go talk to Wagner. He loves it. Just like
he lives
point him there.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the guys don't have to deal with stuff that they don't really want to deal with. They don't want to have to do the interviews and all the distractions. They can just focus on playing basketball. And Wagner can keep going 2 for 13 from the field and do all the interviews.
And who's one of those guys? The best player on their team, Charles
Duncan
Matthews.
Robinson. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, Charles Matthews.
Charles Matthews, we talked about Michigan this entire time. We haven't even brought up his name. He has 17 points. He's the best player on the court for their team.
Yeah.
He's guarding their four. He was guarding Phil Kofer at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, he's all over the
incredible.
place. He's great.
He's like
a 6'6" point guard.
I'm really upset at how well he's playing because this was supposed to happen next year. I think it was like a month or two
Big
ago.
Ten sleeper
I
for
said
next year, yeah.
He's my Big Ten 2018-19 Big Ten Player of the Year sleeper. And I'm a little worried that he's not even going to be in the Big Ten. Actually, I'm not worried at all because get his ass out of here. And
I think he's going to the NBA.
Help Ohio State out. But, yeah, that pick looked really sharp, and it's looking better every day, but it's almost looking too good at this point because, yeah, he might be bound for the NBA at this point.
And you asked a great question as we're at the game. We're seeing Charles Matthews, and he's making all these layups, making all these shots, and you're like, is this Cal's guy?
I was waiting for it. For those who don't know, Charles Matthews went to Kentucky initially. He was a 5-star recruit, went to Kentucky, then transferred to Michigan. And so the question was Cal going to fire off a tweet like, proud of my guy, Charles Matthews making the Final Four?
Yeah, another Final Four for the Cats.
We did it.
We did it. Strive for 9.
Bring it home. Bring that title back to Lexington, Charles. We believe in you.
We want you back. Come on, Charles.
Congrats to Michigan. We will be down in San Antonio cheering Michigan on. I apologize again to the Michigan family for preemptively giving you the kiss of death because Michigan does have to play the blessed team, the chosen team, the Loyola. I want to say Ramblers? Is it the Loyola Wildcat? The Loyola? I think it's Ramblers. Let's stick with that. Loyola. Do you want to start with Sister Jean? Are we contractually obligated as people who talk about college basketball to the very first name we have to mention when bringing up Loyola is Sister Jean?
Yes, we're contractually obligated. First off, Sister Jean, honest woman, wonderful woman, just a pious person, someone that's good for the game.
But
it's good to have her in the building at all these games.
Here comes the but.
But she's got a little bit of Wagner in her. Wagner has leaked over into Sister Jean, and I think Sister Jean has corrupted Wagner, actually. I think it's the other way around. Sister Jean is everywhere. She cannot be stopped. We know she's an international star. We know that she now has some sort of backup bracket. Like, could you imagine just the audacity of someone that was one of your friends or even your pastor, let's say, and you had a pool and you all filled out your brackets and you're getting screwed and everyone's doing, well, there goes my bracket, and they're all like high-fiving and laughing at each other. And then someone in your group is named Sister Jean, and she's got this bracket. And it's just, she has this team losing the Sweet 16, and it's all over. She's out of the tournament. And then she's like, well, I got me a backup bracket. And it's like, what are you talking about, Sister Jean? You can't have a backup bracket. She's apparently got some backup bracket that's got Loyola winning the whole thing. That's your real bracket. Then you can't do this back and forth. I don't like it.
A couple thoughts.
She's a flip-flopper.
I don't hate Sister Jean as much as you do.
I don't hate her.
I'm just saying. I hate this woman. You said to me in private, I hate this woman.
I said, how do we stop her?
I'm joking.
She puts the God in Godzilla. She cannot be stopped.
Anytime anybody that's like a lot of people are doing like the super edgy Sister G.
Yeah, well,
like,
I'm not doing that.
We're not taking it that far. But the people that come to her defense do so as though she is super innocent. Let's call a spade here.
She pops.
She's talking shit. She's definitely talking shit.
She's like, I'll see you in San Antonio.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe not, Sister Jean.
Yeah,
Damn.
she was talking. She talks a lot of shit, which is it's fun. It's all fun. We're in agreement. It's fun, but she's not completely innocent in all of this. Like, she is talking a little bit of shit. Number two, the frustration I have with the whole Sister Jean thing is that I know exactly as much about Sister Jean on what is today, March 25th, as I did when the tournament started on March. What day that was?
March 12th.
March 12th.
Yes.
There you go. In 2 weeks, I have learned nothing about Sister Jean other than she's old. She likes Loyola basketball. That's it.
And
That's
she
all
was
we know.
43 in 1963.
And this man has...
I learned that. There is no way in hell she was 43 in 1963.
She has had every microphone shoved in her face and every camera, and it's not her fault. But what are we doing as a journalism community? Can we learn anything about her? Like, it's the same story over and over, and that's the frustration to me, is that I know nothing else about her. We're gonna get the same treatment in the Final Four. Everyone's gonna shove the camera in her face, take the microphone, and be like, "So, sister, how about Loyola? This is wild, isn't it?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's wild, but I think those boys are going to do it." And then everyone's like, "Ooh, sister with a little sass."
Which is the whole problem, because she says, I hope these boys will do it. I hope the Ramblers do it. It's like, how about you say, I want Clayton Custer to make a layup for us.
Yeah.
I want Towns to hit a big shot
That's
for us.
the
I
other
love for
frustration.
Ingram to have a big game for us. Where are the players?
That's the other
And
frustration.
we're players
is
first
that
program.
Someone pointed this out to me on Twitter, and it blew my mind, that what if Loyola is winning because they're good at basketball and not because of Sister Jean? And I never thought about it that way until after I saw that tweet. But then
point.
it didn't all start making. And then I went back and I rewatched the Kansas State game. I was like, whoa, that actually makes a lot of sense. That these guys they run, as a certain Ringer employee said, the most advanced offense in college basketball.
Yes. Something that we've never seen before. Even though the best team in the country, Virginia, all season long, has literally played this exact style of basketball, which is limit possessions, dictate when we take shots, and make sure we make the most out of every possession we have.
It all comes back to Virginia with us, that everyone's loving Loyola. They took the Virginia game plan of just play great defense, play team offense. But yeah, the team is good. They do play good basketball. No one wants to talk about them, and that is another frustration with the whole Sister Jean thing. You and I don't even really talk about them, but Custard, great player. Ben Richardson, they're high school teammates.
Yes.
How fun is that?
Ben Richardson had, like 21 points in that game?
Unconscious,
He made every single shot he took. I've never seen anything like it.
They got the big dude, the freshman big dude, I forget his name.
Kurtwig,
who's like basically Karnowski.
He just goes Karnowski 2.0.
He's just a big barrel-chested dude that goes to his left hand all the time, but somehow it works, and it barely skims over the rim every single one of those baby hooks he throws up.
He's just using his butt to box out people like a monster.
But Loyola, like, they are actually kind of fun to watch. Like, they move the ball. They play. They remind me of Butler. That's the Butler teams that went to the national title game. That's the vibe I get when I watch them. They've completely stolen that model of just lock down on defense, limit possessions, and move the ball on offense. And they were dicing Kansas State up all game. It was fun to watch.
And I will say this: the reason that I think we have gone on the against Sister Jean, or at least I have personally, is because we haven't. It's like a cop out. It's like nobody wants to watch Loyola play, and I don't care what people say. We had this guy sitting next to us at the game that was like, "Oh, the ratings will be huge with Loyola in the Final Four. Everyone wants to watch the underdog," and it's like
Loyola, Florida State would have gotten like 1,100 viewers. Maybe.
Yeah, all of them in the greater Chicago area and down south, and Tallahassee for some. But Porter Moser, This guy's 49
No
years
one's
old.
even
He's like one of the hottest coaches in the country. He takes this team to the Final Four for the first time since
He's
1963.
hot. I feel
Nobody even brings his name
I feel
up.
like he's hot now. But when they made the Elite Eight, he was still not like it's like Pittsburgh. We have a job opening. Who should we go after? And like you don't mention it. I'm not saying they should hire the guy. I mean, he's obviously, he's been around a little while. This is obviously the best he's ever done, all that kind of stuff. Like, you don't want to overreact to one season. But you do that with every other candidate. We're doing that with Dan Hurley.
Yeah.
Dan Hurley hasn't done shit in his career except, like, make two. And he's never made a Sweet 16 in his life, and everyone's, like, losing their goddamn minds over Dan Hurley. Can we do the same to Porter Moser? Could he get that treatment?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And now we're seeing all the stories come out. Like I saw Zinger, the Kansas AD. He was at Illinois State, and he fired Porter Moser. And he's like, come out. There was some column. I just pulled it up because I was like, the headline was funny enough to me. Just that now these people are coming out. I was like, I can't believe I didn't see it.
Whoops.
Like, oh, yeah. Nope, that was a bad call by me. Thank God I have Bill Self to take me to the Final Four. I just don't understand how, like, we can't talk about the team. We can't talk about Porter Moser. We can't talk about how fun it is that a sleeping giant like Loyola, a team that has won a national title.
Just wait till they get those Chicago recruits.
Can we reiterate that? They have won a national title. There's so many programs that haven't won national titles, but somehow we've talked about Sister Jean the entire time, and it's on us. I don't like it.
So Loyola, Michigan is going to be – so I think the final – what makes this Final Four especially intriguing to me beyond – I mean, we have a blue blood in Kansas.
Yeah.
We have obviously the Cinderella in Loyola. We have like the up and come, like the new blue blood. A lot of people throwing that term around for Villanova. And then we have like Michigan, who actually is a great program. Not really blue blood status, but like, it's like every tier. You have the top of the top. Like Villanova as a program is probably a tier down, even though they've been the best program in college basketball the last few years.
But you have to win the titles to
Michigan.
get yourself like it's like Michigan State. It's like
But
Michigan State is a blue blood, not because they're blue, but because they're in the echelon. But they only have 2 titles, so they don't quite get to that next level.
Oh, so we have a little bit of everything. You got all levels of it, but also you look at the 2 individual games we have. Loyola, Michigan, kind of the same sort of team, not in terms of personnel necessarily.
And 2 of the hottest teams in the tournament.
Yeah, 2 of the 4 hottest teams, I would say.
I think
all those teams are hot.
Folks, I don't want to say this, but I think Loyola has a shot to win this thing.
Shout out to Seth Davis for that team.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Anybody else feel like Loyola might have a chance to win this thing? I feel
Guys,
like they're one of the 4
I don't want to
teams
go out on a limb here, but I think
they might
the
have
Ramblers
a chance.
have a shot.
They win 2 more games.
Yeah,
it could get
they could do
interesting.
it.
But you look at these games. Loyola, Michigan. Michigan's the same way. Want to play defense. The team offense. Like you don't know who's gonna like Charles. It was Charles Matthews against Florida State. Sometimes it's Wagner. Sometimes it's Duncan. Sometimes it's Abdul Rahman. They play team offense. That's not their MO. They don't worry about offense.
It's usually not Swaggy Poole.
It's very strange to say that about a Michigan team, but that's where we've arrived, where they play lockdown defense. That's their calling card every game they're in, and then they try to they want to play a little slower, not Virginia slow, but they're trying to value possession, get a good shot. Same thing with Loyola. So we're gonna have like those sorts of styles. That's one game. Other game, Villanova, Kansas. We already kind of talked about that. How they feel like they're the exact same team in terms of just how their makeup and their approach to the game.
Yeah, it's the East version of Kansas, and then the Midwest version of Villanova, basically.
So it's gonna in that regard, the Final Four we do have is pretty awesome because it both games the teams are going to be trying to do the exact same thing more or less, and I guess the winner is going to be whoever does it better, Tate.
That's what usually happens.
That's how we're.
That's the beauty of basketball. Not really in this tournament.
So the Final Four is set. Do you have any parting thoughts?
I just will say this. I know people will be upset about the Coach K thing.
Hold on. Are you trying to soften this?
No.
Okay.
I'm trying to go a step further.
Okay.
This was a disappointment, a severe disappointment. I don't care what anyone says at Duke. I don't care if Coach K comes out and says that he's proud of his guys and the year that they had. Coach K is upset. He's disappointed, and he expected more. And I think he's gonna revert back to his old ways.
He's gonna get fired. Oh.
No, his back's gonna hurt. He's
his
not gonna do this anymore. He's tired of this. He's done with this.
Do you think is there a world where Coach K retires ever?
No.
So he's just gonna step away or something, is what you're saying, but come back.
No, I'm telling you right now.
What are you saying? I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying right now, Coach K, if you're RJ Barrett, if you're Zion Williamson, if you're Cam Reddish, if you're any of those guys going to that program next year, if you think it's going to be a cakewalk and you're just going to walk around like the big man on campus and Coach K is going to pat you on the back and say, good job.
You think you're going to get that D on your chest?
It's not going to happen.
No.
He's going to turn up that heat in Cameron Indoor so high that you feel like you're in the middle of hell and you're going to run so much. It's going to be great. I think Coach K is going to go back to that.
Interesting.
I want him to.
Interesting.
Bring it back, Kay. Get tough again.
My final thought. Someone tweeted at us. It was too good. I forgot to say it earlier when we were talking about Sister Jean with theory. And I'm sorry to the guy who did this. That I don't remember your Twitter name, but it's probably
It
for
was
the
so
best.
good, yeah.
It's probably for the best that I'm not publicly saying your Twitter name. Trust me. You don't want
You don't want this.
You don't want the people of the internet to come after you. But he says, "Are we sure that Sister Jean is not Rick Pitino pulling a Mrs. Doubtfire so he can still stay in the game?" That was a joke.
And it's pretty damn good.
That's a good joke.
That's a good joke.
That was not our joke. I want to reiterate that. Search the mentions if you want to find the guy who tweeted that. But shout out to that guy. That was a good one. I'm buying into that. That would be funny.
Pitino can do it.
Loyola wins. You roll out Sister Jean. They're all holding up the trophy. Confetti's coming off. Sister Jean stands up, rips off the mask, and it's old Slick Rick.
And he says, "I'm back." And that's the end.
And then an NCAA official comes out and says, "Rick, you can't do this." And he's like, "What? I had no idea."
Yeah.
Do what?
I
What are you
take
talking
full
about?
responsibility, but
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do this.
Now that we invoked Rick Pitino, I want to mention one more thing, Tate. That Michigan, this was the year the 2013 banner went down.
Yes.
That Louisville had their banner rescinded. The Michigan fans said, "Give us the banner."
We were
to
number
which I
two.
said, "Michigan fans, just go away forever. Just please shut up.
Wagner, stop shooting threes."
Michigan fans, just stop it. But for the Michigan, again, the people for John Beilein, that's it. That's the only guy I like in all this. Michigan fans,
Mr. March.
Michigan fans can suck it. But John Beilein, who he feels like maybe I should have got that 2013 banner. That'd be cool if he wins it in the same year that the whole thing happened. That'd be cool.
It'd be very poetic.
That's it. The Final Four set. We will be back on Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. We'll be back on Tuesday doing more of a Final Four preview, less of a reaction to the Elite Eight games. We will wash the Coach K talk out. We will only look ahead to what is to come. We will be here doing another podcast on Tuesday. Check that out. Tate and I are going to San Antonio. If you're making plans to go down there, keep your head on a swivel for the Duffel Bag Boys in tuxedos. Little spoiler alert.
Little tease.
We rented tuxedos. We're going to be wearing them the entire time we're down there. We're not packing anything else.
Because you have to dress to impress. This is our first time on TV. We're going to dress to impress.
So, yeah, we'll be down at the Final Four. And we will be back on Tuesday doing a podcast. But until then, save the crew.